My friends, I did the unspeakable and updated the Hungering Cold, or Slayer of the Lifeless. If you're Wrath, baby, cringe. It sheaves on the back and it looks like $1,000,000 while it sits there. Most famous sword in the game though, how do you justify that statement?
Behold.
You probably didn't even notice, but I've been doing a lot of mounts recently, and I don't want to be a one-horse pony, so I'm changing things up. So here I am, all changed up, back to my roots, redoing weapons, starting out by updating the Sword of 1,000 Truths. A process that I began by taking the low poly 2005 base model and turning it into a higher res 2023 edition. If you've seen my content before, this first step in my process won't come as news to you, but this will. I finally graduated uni, making me officially a qualified game artist. That's right. I now own a piece of paper that says that I'm able to make the things already in my portfolio. All for about the price of 23 washing machines and a kidney, just in time for AI to replace me. And with that, completing the first step in our journey, I turned this, yep, that old thing, into this. Yep. Nice and all, Tom, but that skull misses the mark for me. Are you dumb? Yes, but let me explain. I'm going for a different workflow than I used in my previous weapon remakes. I'm not just gonna model it by hand and ram it into Substance Painter. No, I was gonna get into sculpting. The uprest model you just saw me make was only gonna serve as a base for this. I first did these parts the old-fashioned way, because when it comes to sculpting, making very smooth geometric shapes like you tend to see in weapons is quite tricky, especially when you're new to the craft like I am. New to the craft? But Tom, you just said you graduated. Shouldn't you already know how to do all that stuff? Nope. But if you need a report about it, I'm your guy. I did give sculpting a bit of a test run recently though, in which I found it to actually be really intuitive, and the results I got out of it were pretty satisfactory, which gave me some confidence. So naturally, my attempt to sculpt this weapon turned out to be an absolute dumpster fire. I'm sparing you those parts in the video, but the tools didn't behave how I thought they should, the mesh didn't respond to them how I wanted it to, and everything was garbage. I must have redone every part of this weapon between like 3 and 6 times, often from scratch. For all of them, I tried multiple different aesthetic approaches and techniques, looking for something that felt right, finding instead sorrow and existential dread. So if it looks like the aesthetic keeps changing here, well, that's why. Anyway, with all that said and done, I finished my sculpt. It doesn't quite get us there though. Sculpted models can often have millions of polygons. For reference, the original Hungering Colt has 374 polygons. That is indeed less. In order to make these ridiculously high poly sculpted models usable in game, you retopologize them, meaning making a low poly version, after which you use computer magic to bake the details of the sculpted version into that low poly one. That's science. Trust me. I have a degree. And this is indeed the moment that all of our hard work so far has been building up to. Behold, my friends. Yeah. To texture the Sword of 1,000 Truths, I went back to an old friend. Hello, Substance Painter. For hand painting textures, like I did in my mount remakes, I found 3D code to be superior. However, when it comes to procedural texturing, I don't know anything about 3D code, and I'm past the point where I'm interested in learning. I have a degree. So yeah, I got to work. To recreate the glowing runes of the blade, I made a mask in Photoshop, which I would import into Substance Painter and place upon the texture as a mask. I grabbed my trusty old drawing tablet and painted the other rune on the forehead of the skull, because that's where it sits. Having the glowy bits all ready, I went in and laid a foundation of base colors for all the different components of the weapon. Stylized art involves exaggerating, yet simplifying a lot of shapes, which loses you detail. However, as you lose detail, you risk your work becoming plain and boring to look at. One thing I did in order to prevent this was adding some gradient into the texture. Also, that's how the weapon looks. Additionally, I laid the groundwork for some highlights. This part is very important for stylized art. Lighting and strong contrast is your way to really bring your shapes out, as well as to draw attention to the focal points of your piece. For the blade, I wanted to make the light catch it in a way that looks nice and sword-like. To do so, I kept it simple and just did a bunch of manual painting. When it came to the skull, I wanted to have some nice lights and darks to really bring its shapes out. I once more did a lot of manual work here, rather than simply relying on procedural texturing tools. Once I get better at sculpting, less of this might be necessary. Or not. Whatever. Next, I went on and did some more work on the horns. I really wanted to try and give them some three-dimensionality with the texture. Lighting was once more the way to do so. And of course, the hilt. I can't forget the hilt. I started by giving it a base layer of highlight to break up the shapes. Then I went in and painted a good bit of dark and some light, trying to really make it pop. Oh, and I textured the gem. but who cares about the gem? And after some finishing touches and polishing work, we made it to the big moment. As always, if you like my content and would like to see more, hit the sub button, hit the notification bell. While you're at it, drop me a like and a comment. You help me a lot in the algorithms. And unfortunately, since a lot of people just skip to the end result in these videos, boy could I use your help there. I also just gotta learn how to make better videos. I know that's... But enough of that. Get your eyeballs ready, my friends. The new and updated, the legendary, the hungering cold, the slayer of the lifeless, the sword of 1,000 truths. Alright, bye.